The bailiff's voice echoed through the courtroom. All rise for the Honorable Judge Rodriguez. I stood slowly, my arthritis making my knees crack loud enough that I saw my son Marcus wince from across the aisle. Good. Let him be embarrassed. Let him feel something. Beside him, my daughter-in-law Heather didn't even look up from her phone, her manicured nails clicking away at what was probably another Instagram post. Even here, even now, the irony wasn't lost on me. 30 years I'd walked into courtrooms just like this one, but never on this side of the room, never as the defendant, never with my own child sitting across from me, ready to tell a judge that his mother had lost her mind. Judge Rodriguez settled into her seat, a small woman with steel-gray hair pulled back tight. She opened the file in front of her without looking at anyone. Case number 24-7789. Marcus Chen versus Margaret Chen. Petition for appointment of conservatorship due to alleged mental incompetence. Those words, mental incompetence. My own son thought I'd gone senile at 65. Mr. Chen, the judge continued, you're petitioning the court to be appointed conservator over your mother's financial affairs. Is that correct? Marcus's lawyer stood. Some slick kid in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly pension. That's correct, Your Honor. We have compelling evidence that Mrs. Chen has been making irrational financial decisions that suggest early-stage dementia or other cognitive decline. I watched Heather smile slightly. She'd picked that lawyer, I was sure of it. Probably found him on TikTok. Mrs. Chen, Judge Rodriguez turned to me. Do you have representation? Yes, Your Honor. My lawyer stood. Sarah Mitchell, a public defender who couldn't have been more than 28. She'd been assigned to me by the court because I'd refused to hire anyone expensive. Why waste money on something this ridiculous? Your Honor, if I may, Marcus's lawyer jumped in. We'd like to present evidence of Mrs. Chen's concerning behavior. Over the past 6 months, she has donated over $200,000 to various charities despite having limited income. She lives alone, has been observed talking to herself, and recently adopted 10 cats in the span of 3 weeks. The courtroom murmured. I heard someone behind me whisper, 10 cats? Like I was some kind of crazy cat lady from a sitcom. Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes. He stared at his hands, folded on the table in front of him. When had he become so weak? When had my boy, my Marcus who used to climb trees and scrape his knees and cry when I left for work, become this stranger who'd rather steal from me than talk to me? Mrs. Chen. The judge looked at me directly for the first time. Something flickered in her eyes, but she looked back down at the papers. How do you respond to these allegations? I stood. Sarah put her hand on my arm like she wanted to speak for me, but I shook my head. Your Honor, I'm 65 years old. I served as a detective with the Seattle Police Department for 32 years before I retired. I'm of sound mind, sound body, and I have every right to spend my own money however I see fit. Your Honor, Marcus's lawyer interrupted, we have bank statements showing Mrs. Chen has depleted her retirement savings from over $300,000 to less than $75,000 in just 6 months. We have witnesses who will testify to erratic behavior. Then call your witnesses, Judge Rodriguez said, her voice flat. The first witness was my neighbor, Carol Patterson. Sweet Carol with her rose garden and her weekly bunco games. She walked to the stand like she was going to her own execution, wouldn't look at me. Mrs. Patterson, the lawyer began. How long have you known Margaret Chen? 15 years. Since she moved in next door. And have you noticed any changes in her behavior recently? Carol twisted her hands. Well, she does talk to herself sometimes. I've heard her through the window. And there's all those cats. She never used to have cats. Anything else? She keeps odd hours. Up at all hours of the night. And she had all these boxes delivered last month. Heavy ones. She could barely carry them. I almost laughed. Odd hours? I'd worked the night shift for 20 years. And those boxes were case files. My old case files that I'd finally convinced the department to release to me after 5 years of requesting them. Marcus's lawyer smiled like he'd won something. "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. No further questions." Sarah cross-examined briefly, but what could she really say? "Yes, I talk to myself sometimes. Yes, I had 10 cats now, all rescues from the shelter. Yes, I kept odd hours, because old habits die hard, and I'd never been able to sleep through the night after 3 decades of midnight calls about murdered girls and missing children." The second witness made my stomach turn. It was Heather. She walked to the stand in her designer dress, the one I'd seen on her Instagram 3 weeks ago with the caption, "Blessed number luxury lifestyle number success." She looked at the jury like this was her audience, like they were her followers waiting to double-tap her performance. "Mrs. Chen," the lawyer said, "you're married to the petitioner, Marcus Chen. Is that correct?" "Yes." Her voice was soft, practiced. Nothing like the shrill tone she used when she thought I couldn't hear her talking to Marcus. "It breaks my heart to be here." "Liar. Can you describe your mother-in-law's recent behavior? She's been so different lately." Heather dabbed at her eyes with a tissue she'd clearly prepared in advance. "She used to be so sharp, so together. But now she forgets conversations we've had. She donated almost all her money to this animal shelter, and when Marcus asked her about it, she got angry and defensive. She said we were just after her money." "Well, that part was true. And why are you concerned?" "We love her," Heather said, looking right at me with those practiced tears. "We just want to make sure she's safe, that she's taken care of. Before it's too late." I wanted to stand up and scream. I wanted to tell the whole courtroom about the credit card bills I'd seen on Marcus's counter last month when I went to visit. $73,000 in debt. I wanted to tell them about Heather's boutique that had failed after 6 months, about Marcus's startup that had burned through $500,000 in investor money with nothing to show for it. But Sarah had told me to stay quiet. Let them talk. Let them present their case. Then we'd present ours. Marcus took the stand next, and that's when my heart really broke. "Mr. Chen," his lawyer said gently, "this must be difficult for you." Marcus nodded. He'd gotten better at lying than I'd taught him. When he was 7 and broke my favorite lamp, he'd confessed immediately, tears streaming down his face. "Tell the truth, even when it's hard," I'd told him. "That's what makes you a good person." Now he sat there and lied through his teeth. "My mother has always been my hero," he said. "Growing up, I was so proud of her. She was this amazing detective, solving cases, helping people. But after my dad died 5 years ago, something changed." That was true. Something had changed. I'd realized life was short. Too short to hoard money I'd never spend. Too short to not help people when I could. "She became withdrawn," Marcus continued. "Paranoid. She accused me and Heather of wanting her money when all we wanted was to have a relationship with her." The courtroom was silent. Even Judge Rodriguez was listening intently. Then, 6 months ago, she started donating everything. Her entire retirement. She said she was giving it to animal shelters and homeless veterans and women's shelters. But Your Honor, how do we even know these charities are real? How do we know she's not being scammed? There it was, the heart of their case. They didn't think I was crazy. They thought I was being scammed, which meant they could swoop in, take control of my money, and oh, what do you know, I'm sure some of it would just happen to pay off Marcus's debts. "Mr. Chen," the judge said quietly, "have you tried talking to your mother about this?" "Yes, Your Honor. Many times. She won't listen to reason. She says it's her money, and she can do what she wants, but that's not the point. The point is she's not thinking clearly. She's vulnerable. And as her son, I need to protect her. Protect me. Right." When it was Sarah's turn to question him, she was gentle but firm. "Mr. Chen, you stated your mother has donated approximately $200,000 in 6 months. Did she give you any of this money?" Marcus hesitated. "No." "Did she offer?" "No." "But, did you ask her for money?" "Not for me. For her grandchildren, for their college funds." "I didn't have grandchildren." Marcus and Heather had been married for 3 years, and Heather had made it clear that babies would ruin her body and mess up her brand. I see, Sarah said. And Mr. Chen, are you currently employed? I'm an entrepreneur. I run a tech startup. A startup that recently closed its second round of funding, having spent the first round without generating revenue, correct? Marcus's face reddened. We're in development phase. And your wife, Mrs. Heather Chen, she's an influencer, correct? On Instagram and TikTok? She's a content creator, yes. How much income did that generate last year? I don't see how that's relevant. Your Honor, Sarah turned to the judge, it's relevant because it establishes potential motive. If the petitioner is in financial distress, he may have ulterior motives for seeking control of his mother's assets. Objection, Marcus's lawyer shot up. Overruled, Judge Rodriguez said. Answer the question, Mr. Chen. About $12,000, Marcus muttered. And you have how much in credit card debt? Objection. Relevance. Overruled. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear. Around $70,000. The courtroom murmured again. Now the math was starting to make sense to everyone else. Son in debt tries to take control of mother's money. Classic. No further questions, Sarah said. Then, it was my turn. I walked to the stand on steady legs. 32 years of testifying in trials, I knew how to do this. I knew how to sit up straight, how to speak clearly, how to look the jury in the eye. But when I sat down and looked out at the courtroom, really looked, I saw Marcus staring at me, and for just a second, just 1 second, I saw my little boy again. The one who cried when I worked late. The one who asked me why I had to leave when bad people needed to be caught. The one who'd said, when I grow up, I'm going to be just like you, Mom. What happened to that boy? Sarah started gentle. Mrs. Chen, can you tell the court about your career? I was a detective with Seattle PD for 32 years, I said. I worked homicide, missing persons, and special victims. I retired 5 years ago with full honors. And your mental state? Sharp as ever. I still do the crossword every morning. I volunteer at the library, teaching seniors how to use computers. I manage my own finances, my own medications, my own life. The court has heard testimony about large donations. Can you explain those? This was it. This was where I either came across as crazy or as exactly what I was, a woman who knew what mattered. 5 years ago, my husband died. I began. Thomas. We were married for 37 years. He was a good man, a firefighter. He died responding to a warehouse fire, trying to save 2 workers trapped inside. I saw Heather roll her eyes, like my husband's death was boring to her. After he died, I had to figure out what my life meant without him. We never had much, but we'd saved. We'd planned for retirement, travel, maybe. A house on the coast, but then he was gone and I realized something. Money doesn't mean anything if you don't use it to do good. So you started donating. Yes. But not randomly. Not to scams. I looked directly at Marcus. Every charity I've donated to, I researched thoroughly. The Pacific Northwest Animal Rescue. It's run by Linda Morrison. She's the widow of my former partner, Officer James Morrison. He was killed in the line of duty 20 years ago. Linda started the shelter in his honor. I've known her for 2 decades. I trust her completely. I saw Judge Rodriguez's head snap up. She was looking at me now, really looking. The women's shelter I donated to? I helped build it. Literally. After I worked the Rodriguez case in 2005, the judge's hand froze over her notepad. Your Honor, Sarah said gently, but Judge Rodriguez was staring at me. Detective Chen? The courtroom went silent. Maggie? The judge's voice cracked slightly. Hello, Maria, I said quietly. I watched her face change as recognition flooded in. Judge Maria Rodriguez. She'd been Maria Castillo back then, a terrified 19-year-old who'd been kidnapped by her ex-boyfriend and held for 3 days. I'd been the detective who'd found her, who'd sat with her in the hospital, who'd testified at her abuser's trial. My God, she whispered. Marcus's lawyer stood. Your Honor, if there's a conflict of interest. Sit down, Judge Rodriguez said, her voice steel. She was looking at me like she'd seen a ghost. Detective Chen. Margaret Chen. You were the one who found you? I finished. Yes, Your Honor. You saved my life. I did my job. The courtroom was chaos now. Marcus looked confused. Heather was whispering frantically to their lawyer. Sarah was trying not to smile. Judge Rodriguez composed herself, but I could see her hands shaking slightly. We'll take a 15-minute recess. In the recess, Sarah grabbed my arm. Why didn't you tell me you knew the judge? I didn't know she was a judge now, I said. Last I heard, she'd gone to law school. I'm proud of her. This changes everything. It doesn't change the facts. I'm still competent. Marcus still wants my money. Let's finish this. When we returned, Judge Rodriguez was composed, professional. Due to my prior relationship with Mrs. Chen, I'm disclosing this potential conflict of interest on the record. However, as this is a civil matter and not a criminal trial, and as the petitioner has not objected, I will continue to preside. Mr. Chen's counsel. Do you wish to object? The lawyer looked at Marcus, who shook his head weakly. Continue, Mrs. Chen, the judge said to me. The Homeless Veterans Fund I donated to? It's run by the VA in conjunction with the Seattle PD. I personally know the director. The Scholarship Fund for Children of Fallen Officers. I helped establish it after my partner was killed. Every single dollar I've donated has gone to legitimate, verified causes. Causes I believe in. Causes that matter more than leaving money to a son who clearly only wants it to pay off his debts. I shouldn't have said that last part. But it was out now. Marcus stood up. That's not fair. Mr. Chen, sit down, Judge Rodriguez said sharply. Your Honor, I love my mother, but, I said, sit down. He sat. Mrs. Chen, what about the 10 cats? I almost smiled. They're from Linda's shelter. She had 10 senior cats who'd been there for years. No one wants old cats. They were going to be euthanized. I have a big house. I took them. They're perfectly well cared for. I can afford the vet bills. And the talking to yourself? Old habit from the job. I talk through cases out loud. Even old ones. It helps me think. Those boxes my neighbor mentioned? They're my old case files. I requested them from the department. I've been writing a book about my career. My publisher is interested. That last part was a stretch. I'd sent a query letter to one agent who'd said maybe, but it sounded good. Sarah stood. Your Honor, we'd like to submit evidence of Mrs. Chen's financial records showing that despite her donations, she still maintains a healthy savings account, has no debt, and has her pension which provides monthly income. We'd also like to submit letters of recommendation from her former colleagues, her doctor confirming she has no signs of dementia or cognitive decline, and proof of her ongoing volunteer work which requires background checks and cognitive assessments. We'd done our homework. Judge Rodriguez reviewed the documents. The courtroom was silent for what felt like hours. Finally, she looked up. Mr. Chen, she said, I understand you're concerned about your mother. But concern doesn't give you the right to control another adult's finances without cause. The evidence presented today shows that your mother is of sound mind, is making rational decisions based on her values, and is financially stable. The fact that you disagree with how she spends her money is not grounds for conservatorship. Marcus's face fell. Furthermore, the judge continued, her voice harder now. I'm concerned about your motivations. You've presented no medical evidence of cognitive decline, no expert testimony, just speculation and, frankly, what appears to be an attempt to access funds that you yourself need due to poor financial decisions. Your Honor, the lawyer started. I'm not finished. Mrs. Chen served this community for over 3 decades. She put her life on the line to protect people. She has earned the right to spend her retirement however she chooses. This petition is denied. The gavel came down. I felt Sarah squeeze my shoulder, but I was watching Marcus. He sat there, stunned. Heather was already on her phone, probably deleting any posts about number court day or whatever hashtag she'd planned. Furthermore, Judge Rodriguez said, "Mr. Chen, you and your wife are ordered to pay Mrs. Chen's legal fees, which I'm setting at $10,000, to be paid in installments of $1,000 per month for 10 months. Court costs as well." Marcus went pale. $10,000 might as well have been $10 million to him right now. Court is adjourned. I stood slowly. My knees hurt. My back hurt. I was 65 years old, and I just had to prove to the world that I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't lost my mind. All because my own son thought stealing from me was easier than talking to me. Outside the courtroom, Judge Rodriguez caught up to me. "Detective Chen," she said formally, then dropped the pretense. "Maggie. Maria." I smiled at her. "You did well. I'm proud of you. You saved my life," she said again. "I never got to thank you properly. You became a judge. You help people every day. That's thanks enough." She handed me a card. "That women's shelter you mentioned. The one from my case. I'm on the board now. I'd love for you to come speak sometime. Tell the women there what you told the court today. About using your pain for purpose." I took the card. "I'd like that." Marcus and Heather left, without saying goodbye. I watched them get into their Tesla, Heather already scrolling through her phone, Marcus staring straight ahead. Sarah walked me to my car. "You did great in there. Thanks for taking the case." "Are you kidding? Pro bono case where I get to watch a judge almost cry, recognizing the defendant. This is going in my highlight reel." I laughed. It felt good to laugh. At home, the cats greeted me, at the door. All 10 of them, meowing and rubbing against my legs. I fed them, made myself tea, sat in Thomas's old chair by the window. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mom, it's Marcus. Can we talk?" I stared at that message for a long time. 3 words, "Can we talk?" Like he hadn't just tried to have me declared incompetent. Like he hadn't just tried to steal my money. Like the last 6 months of planning this hadn't happened. But he was still my son. I called him. "Mom," he answered on the first ring. His voice was thick. He'd been crying. "Marcus." Silence. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "I'm so sorry. Are you sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught?" More silence. "Both," he admitted. "God, Mom, both. I'm drowning. The company is failing. Heather's spending is out of control. We're going to lose everything." I panicked. I thought if you would just help you? "Yes. So you decided to steal from me instead of asking?" "I didn't think you'd help. You've made it clear what you think of how we live our lives." He wasn't wrong. I'd never approved of Heather's lifestyle. The constant showing off online. The fake life they projected while drowning in debt behind the scenes. "Marcus, if you had come to me 6 months ago and said, 'Mom, I'm in trouble, I need help,' what do you think I would have said?" "No. Try me." He was quiet. "I would have helped you," I said. "Not by giving you money to keep making the same mistakes, but I would have helped you figure out a real plan. Bankruptcy if needed. Cutting expenses. Getting real jobs. I would have been there. I'm scared, Mom." "I know, baby." And just like that, he was 7 years old again. My little boy who was afraid of the dark. "But you made this mess, you and Heather, and you have to clean it up." "How?" "First, you sell that ridiculous car. Then Heather gets a real job, not influencing, a job with a paycheck. You shut down the startup, or you find actual investors who believe in it, not just friends with money to burn. You live within your means. You pay me back that $10,000. That's going to take forever." "Yes. It is. And you're going to do it." "What if I can't?" "Then you'll fail. And you'll learn. And maybe next time you'll make better choices. Are we okay?" I looked out the window at the Seattle skyline, lit up against the night sky. How many times had I looked at this view while Thomas sat beside me? How many times had we talked about Marcus, worried about Marcus, loved Marcus? "No," I said honestly. We're not okay. You tried to steal from me. You humiliated me. You thought I'd lost my mind instead of asking me what I was doing. That's not okay. I understand. But Marcus? You're still my son. And when you're ready to actually change, not just say you're sorry, I'll be here. I'll help you. But you have to do the work. You have to want to change. I do. I swear I do. Then prove it. Sell the car tomorrow. Have Heather apply for jobs tomorrow. Show me you mean it. Okay. And Marcus? Next time you need your mother, just call me. Don't sue me. He laughed, a broken sound. Okay, Mom. I hung up and sat there in the dark, 10 cats purring around me. 3 months later, Marcus texted me a photo. It was him in a volunteer vest at Linda's animal shelter, holding a senior pit bull with gray around its muzzle. Started volunteering, the text said. Heather is working at Nordstrom in sales. We sold the Tesla, paying you back next week. I smiled and saved the photo. 6 months after that, I got another text. Linda says the shelter needs help with adoption events. Want to volunteer together? I did. We worked side by side at the adoption event, not talking much, just helping match families with animals who needed homes. Heather showed up halfway through, wearing actual normal clothes instead of designer everything, and helped walk dogs. I'm sorry, she said to me at the end of the day. For everything. Marcus told me what you did for Judge Rodriguez. For all those people, I'm sorry I didn't understand. I looked at her. Really looked. She was younger than I'd realized. 28 maybe, still a kid herself, really. Raised in a world that told her worth, came from likes and followers. Heather, do you know why I gave away that money? She shook her head. Because I learned that the only thing you take with you when you die is what you've given away. Thomas and I, we saved all that money for someday, and then he died and someday never came. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I get it now, she said. I think I get it. Good. Now help me load these dog crates into my car. It's been a year now since the trial. Marcus paid me back the full $10,000, on time, every month. He got a job at a tech company, not as a CEO, but as a regular engineer. Heather still has her Instagram, but now she posts about volunteering at the shelter, about living within your means, about real life instead of fake luxury. They're talking about adopting one of the senior cats. Last week, Judge Rodriguez invited me to speak at the women's shelter. I told them my story, about being a detective, about finding Maria, about losing Thomas, about learning what really matters. A young woman came up to me after, tears in her eyes. My ex-husband is trying to get custody of my kids, she said. He's saying I'm unstable, just like your son said about you. I took her hand. Then you fight. You document everything. You show them exactly who you are. And you don't give up. I'm scared. I know. But fear is just another emotion. It doesn't have to control you. She hugged me, and I felt it again. That feeling I used to get when I closed a case, when I found the missing girl, when I saved the victim. Purpose. Thomas used to tell me I couldn't save everyone. He was right, but I could save some, and if I could use my money, my story, my life to help even one person, then it was all worth it. Marcus calls me every Sunday now. We talk about his week, my week. The cats. The shelter. He's in therapy. So is Heather. They're doing the work. Last Sunday, he said, Mom, I've been thinking about that day in court, when Judge Rodriguez recognized you. I was so angry at first. I thought it wasn't fair. But then I realized something. What's that? I spent my whole life trying not to be like you. You were never home, always working, always putting the job first. I resented you for it. But you know what you were doing while you were gone? You were saving lives, building a legacy, making a difference. And I was sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. Marcus, let me finish. I want to be like you. Mom. Not the workaholic part, but the part that uses what you have to help others. The part that knows what matters. I want to make you proud. I cried. I'm not ashamed to admit it. At 65 years old, sitting in my house with 10 senior cats, I cried like a baby. "You already make me proud," I said. "Every day you choose to be better, you make me proud. That money I gave away, I'd give it away 100 times over for this. For my son back, for the relationship we're building, for the man he's becoming. They can call me crazy, they can think I've lost my mind, they can question every decision I've made, but I know the truth. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm living, really living, for the first time since Thomas died. I'm not just existing. I'm not just counting down the days until I join him. I'm helping people. I'm making a difference. I'm teaching my son what it means to be human. And when my time comes, when I finally do join Thomas, I'll go knowing I used every single day I had left. Every dollar, every moment, every breath. That's not crazy. That's the sanest thing I've ever done."